I remembered that. I literally have a note right here that says, don't forget to record. Okay. All right. I think we're good. Oh, can I take away that transcript? Can I take that away? Do you guys see that? Maybe that's just on my end. How do I take that away? Stop it. Here we go. Wow. Woo, no one wanted to hear that. Okay. All right. So we have just a few items on our agenda today. I'm going to show the new schedule deputies. We're going to talk about some enrollment information for the fall and spring. We have a new building name coming for spring 22. We're going to talk about the inventory system and then just the schedule build process and a couple reminders. So we have a few new schedule deputies that from the past, I mean, it's kind of weird, but it's cut from the fall semester, but from the spring build. So these are the new ones. I hope I got everybody. If not, I apologize. I will be showing a list of where you can see all the current schedule deputies here later in the presentation. So please check that list if you're ever needing to know who is in charge of what subject areas. These are the ones I thought were the new ones. As you can see, we actually have 2 new subject areas for coming online for fall 22. So the first one is SFT. I had to write a note, Space Force Training, and that's in the PPI College. And then we have the Data Mine, TDM Data Mine, and it's in the College of Science. So those are actually 2 new subject areas that you will see. And then for enrollment information, the actual census date is not until January 25th. So these are projected numbers. As you can see, for fall 2021, that's the actual number. We're just shy of 50,000, which seems huge. And then for spring 2022, we're projected a little bit lower. We always lose students in between the fall and spring semesters. So we're right around the 47,000. And then, of course, projected to go up for fall 2022 with a little over 50,000. Again, seems crazy, but this is where we are. Some of you have already noticed that EE has changed names. So they are now Max and Maylene Brown Family Hall. The official abbreviation is BHEE. So all that was handled in between the fall and spring semesters. The campus map has already been updated as well. So it is reflecting the BHEE. There was nothing that anyone needed to do. It was an automatic change. I don't know if you can probably barely see this, but I tried to show an example of what it now looks like in the schedule. So this top line is from Banner. So if you go to look up classes or My Purdue, you can see over here it says BHEE 117. So again, nothing happened with the rooms or the room number. It's just that abbreviation that changed, I guess. And then this one is Unitime down here. Again, you can see BHEE 117. So it could be helpful if you want to send something out to your instructors if they see BHEE on there. It was out in like a Purdue Today thing. It came from it was on a trustees memo, but a lot of people lose track of that. So again, it's BHEE, which is EE. So that should be all handled and good. Please let me know if you have any issues with that. The next thing is the FMS system. The FMS system is the website for the inventory system for all rooms and buildings on campus. That's handled by physical facilities. They had asked me to give a reminder to all schedule deputies that this is what they have in their system is the official capacity for rooms, for any room, any conference room, department room, labs, academic classrooms, what they have in their inventory system, that is the official capacity, and we have to be using that. They only wanted me to remind you of that due to COVID capacities. So that really kind of, we changed a lot of capacities when we went down to the COVID capacities. Some of them haven't been updated because maybe you just haven't used those rooms again, and that's fine. But they just encourage you to make sure you're checking your room capacities. And if you see a discrepancy, that we can go out to the inventory system and check to see what they have. Now, if you have a request for a new space for teaching purposes, maybe you have a teaching lab that you need repurposed, or you want to use it for a teaching lab now, that's actually a space request form on their website. I linked it here. Once we're done with the meeting and the recording, I'm going to send this out, so you can feel free to click on that and take a look. Again, that has nothing to do with the registrar's office. We don't handle any of the space request or evaluating of space for any rooms. That all runs through them. So this is just simply a reminder coming from them to be mindful of capacities and where they're coming from. Okay, distance sections. I actually added this in last night just because we had an email from the provost office. Distance sections for spring 22 even, or even for fall. We've had a few issues with distance only sections. So I am only referring to a course or a section that is purely async online, distance, no required like face-to-face as far as the class. But maybe that course or section is requiring face-to-face exams or proctoring. That's totally fine. They can do that, but we need to try to make sure that we're indicating that via a student note. Students maybe were signed up not knowing they needed to come to a face-to-face exam or they needed a proctor. So we're just looking for transparency here to the students. So if you know you have a distance course, but they're requiring face-to-face exams, you need to consider adding a note to that course, letting them know. This is an example note that the provost suggested. Distance course, in-person exams required. So that is at least a little transparency to the students signing up or have already registered, that they know that they will have to have in-person exams and they will need to come to campus for those. Again, just if you know of a situation like that, let's add a note. Okay, now getting into the real meat, the schedule build for fall 2022. So large lecture, large active room requests, which are 60 and over. We had previously last semester, I think, did 50 just because we held back a lot of the rooms, but now we're pretty much back to a regular schedule build. So it's going to be 60 and plus. So any course or section needing at least 60 seat students, we need to put that in the large all-purpose manager. Those are all of those requests are due by Wednesday, January 19th by 5 p.m. So remember, since we're in one manager, people might remember pre-COVID, we used to have two separate managers, one large lecture, one large active learn, and then you kind of had to decide what your sections wanted to go. We weren't being totally efficient doing that. So now we've combined them into large all-purpose because mainly a lot of courses really don't care too much about their room. So we want to be as efficient as possible. So we're putting them all together as one. What does that mean for you? That means that those preferences on sections are really needed. So if you have a course that you know for sure needs an active learn room like Walk or Stewart Center or something like that, you need to make sure you're putting that on this section as a preference. I'm going to show that to you here in a little bit. But those preference levels, those section preference levels are very much needed when we're using one bucket. Again, any special requests need to go in the notes to the schedule manager field, just like always. So if you have an instructor that has childcare issues specifically, or disability issues specifically, we need to know about that. Otherwise, as you know, large lecture and large active requests are just that. They are a request. They're not guaranteed. We have to know about special requests. Otherwise, they could end up in a place maybe that they don't, a place or a time that does not work for them. So I have to know about special requests. Please do a good job of fielding those requests. If someone just doesn't want to do it or doesn't prefer to have a 5:30 or 7:30, that's not a special request. I need to know exactly why. Is it a childcare? Is it a disability issue? We need to get these instructors and faculty used to, if you're in a large room, if you're needing a large room, it really is truly what works best for the student schedules and what works best for the efficiency of the rooms. Important, this was just a little note I wanted you guys to know. Please remember and look over every section and course that you have very carefully for fall 22. Since COVID was happening, our roles, the roll forward, so rolling from one semester to the next has been kind of strange. So we're losing some information in those roles because we have been rolling so early in the process and not normal. So for fall 21, if you remember, we put everything into the need room. We scheduled every single section all together at one time. We didn't have this step-by-step process. So since now we are going back to the step-by-step process, some of those preferences that you might have set at your section level could possibly not have rolled over since they're in a new manager now. So you need to double, triple check those preferences that they are exactly how you intended them to be. Projections were sent in mid-December from Keith Garris. This right here on our website. Again, you can click here and it'll go take you straight to the report for fall 22. He will send an updated one when we know after that census on January 25th. He will send it. Now that won't help us for the large lecture necessarily, but we will get updated projections at that time. The memo went out on December 15th regarding large lectures, large active. Please read that thoroughly. Lots of information in there, especially if you are newer to the schedule deputy role. Make sure you're reading that memo thoroughly and you're asking your scheduling assistant, Betty Cole or Robin Haywood, about any questions you have or you don't understand on that memo. And then for helper training, please email us for a scheduled time. We're not doing walk-ins right now. Given the state of COVID, we don't really want to just be sitting in a room waiting for someone to come in. So we are doing only scheduled appointments. And those can be virtual or they can be online. We are going to be meeting in Math B10 if you do have a scheduled meeting. But otherwise, we can still meet with you virtually or in person. But please email myself or your scheduling assistant, Betty or Robin, directly to set up a time. So please know, we will not just be sitting in the lab. I don't want anyone getting discouraged coming to lab waiting on us. We will not be there unless you have a scheduled meeting with us. Now, with that being said, Math B10 is reserved for us. So if you wanted some quiet time just to go over there, that's totally fine. Please use the lab. Just might want to let me know, give me a heads up so I can let the lab manager know that we might not be in there, but that someone else might be using the room. But you are welcome to do that if you need some quiet space to work.
Hey, Jill.
Yes.
You want to give those dates when the labs are open?
Yeah, of course. Come over here. I actually had this pulled up right here. Help session, scheduled help session, Math B10, January 10th through the 19th, 9 to 4 p.m. So that's kind of the time, that's the time we have Math B10 reserved. Again, scheduled. We will be scheduling you at those times or again, virtually as well. Thank you, Robin. Okay. And then the next part of the schedule build after we finish the large lecture, large actives will be the departmental computer lab request. Those are going to be due by Wednesday, February 16th by 5 p.m. Additional material will be sent out on Monday, January 31st when I send you your large lecture assignments. So as you know, if you've been here a while, I always send out the large lecture assignments and then I give you your second half memo for what you need to do for the departmental computer lab and need room assignments. So, and good news, we have pretty much allocated every classroom to departments. So I'm going to show you how to check what classrooms you have been assigned. That will also be sent out with the material on Monday, January 31st, how many classrooms you have. But we pretty much went back to normal with allocating the number of classrooms to your departments. Now the rooms might be a little varied because some departments needed a lot more classrooms than what they previously had just due to enrollment increases. So there have been some rearranging. You might not see exactly the same classrooms you normally were used to seeing, but you should see the number of classrooms you typically need. Now, if there's issues with that, please reach out to me. We can talk about it. We can talk about the numbers or the hours you're needing. We can see about possibly giving you another room. I don't have that many classrooms left, held back to give to you, but we can possibly see about maybe sharing with another department. So that's good news that you mainly have most of your classrooms back in your bucket for your departmental portion of the schedule build. This is something I'm going to show you here in 1 second. I'm going to show you how it's so much easier to locate what rooms are assigned to each bucket. So you can go in Unitime and just narrow it down and you can see exactly what rooms are in the large lecture bucket, what rooms are in the large active, what rooms are being shared and all those are being shared together. Please remember that. But as you can see down here, I'm not sure you can see, I feel like that says 50. We have 50 large lecture rooms and we have 27 large active. So, I mean, just looking at that, you can tell we have a significantly less number of large active rooms. So as you would assume, there's much more competition for large active rooms than what there are large lecture. Still highly competitive in large lecture, especially at the 4 largest classroom sizes, but we have significantly less large active rooms. So that really means that more than likely, if you care more about your room, you got to care less about your time and day. But I'll show you how to specifically go and look at this. Okay, we're going to look at examples now. Let me pull up unit time. Okay, let me get to fall. Okay, so first thing I want to show first is instructional offerings. I want you to, again, this is just a kind of show and tell of how you can check your manager and or make sure if you have a section, that needs to go into the large active bucket, large active bucket, you have done that. So this is an example of AAE 203. So she has 3 lectures. They are all right here. You can see in the large all-purpose room manager. You can tell right here she's having 3 different sections, 193, 152, 100 for a total of 445. I can tell maybe Lisa hasn't necessarily done any work on this because I'm not seeing a lot of section level preferences. So if we click on this specific lecture, you can see that as of right now, because I don't think she's done any work on this, but she's saying you can schedule this anytime on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or Tuesday, Thursday. There's no green that's strongly preferring. There's no orange that's strongly discouraging. There's no note on here. If she wanted to, Lisa, bear with me. If she wanted to, she could say, oh, they really are preferring these times on this day and maybe this time on Tuesday, Thursday. And then where it's really important is if this particular instructor or lecture needed a large active, room, this is where you come down here to these room features. Maybe they know they want round tables. They want to try to get a round table. There is also an active learning. This is going to be your friend. If they definitely want an active learning room, this is a preference you're going to need to put on that section. That will guarantee that they will receive some type of active learning room. Maybe it might not be 6 at rounds or 9 a gang, but they would receive an active learning room if we have the space and are able to. So this is where I'm talking about. These preferences are very important. You could even do a specific building preference if you wanted to, if they really want to, Thurlow and Forney or Grissom or something of that nature. And then the room groups are where is it located on campus essentially? Do they not want it? So to me, this says AAE is really probably wanting to be on the north side. They've really discouraged every other portion of campus. So it tells me that AA is really wanting to be on the north side. So that is when I say, I'm not going to save that. I'm just going to go back for Lisa. So that's what I say. Look at all your preferences. You should be clicking at that section level, just as I did for all of your large all-purpose sections, and verifying that everything is correct. Because once it's kind of sent over to us, that's the information we take to schedule the course. So it's got to be accurate. It's got to be right. The other thing I wanted to show you was rooms. So I kind of showed on that screen how to do that. So when you go to rooms, you're going to see this. You might see the word managed. You can X that out. If you open up with your caret, let's just go to one department. Let's go to entrepreneur. Here we go. So when Rita would open up her rooms and open up and hit her department right here, this is going to show Rita all the rooms in her bucket for fall 22. So everyone should have a sync online, and some people have sync online. If you need sync online in your bucket, just let us know. We will happily add it in, not a big deal. But then you can come right down here and see the classrooms. She has 2 walk rooms assigned to her. So that would mean that anything of 54 size or 50 a section, she's going to put in her departmental bucket, and she's going to schedule those. She's going to require the times and rooms using those, the time and day, using those 2 rooms. So some of you might have 2 rooms, some of you might have 1, some of you might have 10 or plus, 10 plus. Some of those larger departments, stat, English, they all have at least 10 rooms in their bucket. Yes, was there a question?
It's Robin. Can you stress again that if they have rooms in their bucket to require everything?
Yes. So if you are in the departmental manager specifically, departmental manager specifically, and you see that you have access to that room, that's when you need to require. If you have the option to require a time and day, you should be doing that. We would never want to do a strongly preferred unless you honestly don't care and you want the solver to switch it around. But if you have your days and times picked out for those sections, you should be using required. The only place you should not be using required is for the large all-purpose and for the computer lab. So if it's in your departmental bucket, you are free to use required, and you should. Thank you, Robin. Also, let me just show you the example of how I told you can see the large lectures, large lecture rooms and large active rooms. If you hit classrooms right here, that's going to bring up all 293 academic classrooms that we are responsible for. Then you can even break it down into right here. You can click large lecture room or large active. So let's go ahead and click, I want to see all the large lectures, all the large lecture classrooms. So as you can see, it brings up a list. Now, maybe you want to sort that by capacity. So you come up to your header and you sort by capacity. Now they're in order of large to small. Okay. So you can scroll through here and see if there's maybe specific rooms for.
Thank you so much.
If you could just mute yourself, I'm getting some background. Thank you. You can look back here and see what groups they're in. Maybe you even want to narrow it down to all the central large classrooms, and that might help you decide what preferences you might want to put on, or simply just a list. So that's always available for you. Another thing you should be working on right now is instructors. So you should be updating your instructor information. Maybe these people have left, you want to delete them, or maybe you need to add new instructors for fall. That's always a sticking point, right? Because you might not know who your new instructors are yet, and that's okay. When you know them, you'll go and add them. But if you want to do any kind of instructor cleanup, this is a good time to do that as well. Let me look at my notes here and see if there was any other thing I needed to show you. How to add preferences, how to see your assigned classrooms. Oh, I wanted to go to our website now and show you a little bit of information. I reminded you about where the projections is. Under faculty and staff and reports, there's projection reports. Here's what I referenced that Keith sent out in December. So you can always click on that if you need to see your projection information. Under faculty and staff and scheduling, we always have a ton of information there. Under the class scheduling, this is where the schedule deputy list is. So this is always the most updated list you'll find for the schedule deputies for each subject area. You'll also find the data entry manual for Unitime. So now that you're doing data entry, this is the time you're doing data entry for Unitime. If you're stuck on something or you don't remember how to do something, you can always come to this. Has an easy search function in it. So you should be able to find what you need. Something else I wanted to highlight is our schedule deputy calendar. It's always located here on our website. And then classroom technology. I actually get this from ITAP because they are responsible for the technology in the classroom. While we schedule the classrooms, we have nothing to do with the technology in there. So they're responsible for the technology. So they keep this website updated with changes on rooms. So this goes room by room in alpha order, and it just kind of tells you what is in that classroom as far as technology services. So that's linked off to our website as well. Let's see. I think, let me go back to the PDF. We have just one more slide wrap up. So the overall timeline for fall 22 build is right now, you should be working on your large all-purpose requests. They are due Wednesday, January 19th by 5 p.m. We're not going to do taking anything late. So we're going to move on. We have to keep the train moving, essentially. As you can see, our destination is March 14th. And if we have to stop for even a day or two, we're not going to meet that deadline. So we have to keep the train moving. So nothing late will be accepted. So Wednesday, January 19th by 5 p.m. is your deadline. Then we will work on those assignments and we will give them to you. So you'll receive your large lecture and large active classroom assignments on Monday, January 31st. And then you will start working on your departmental and computer lab requests, which are due Wednesday, February 16th. Again, no late entries. And then computer lab assignments will be released from Teresa Morgan on or before February 25th. She always tries to help me a little bit and reach her deadline like a day or so before. It doesn't always happen, and sometimes fall, since there's so many more sections, it's hard to do that. So you will get your computer lab assignments released on or before February 25th. Need room assignments released on or before March 1st. So anything that needed to go into a need room, you'll get that on or before March 1st, just dependent. I can't run the need room until computer labs are all assigned. So it's really just dependent on how long it takes Teresa to solve the computer labs. And then of course we are set to release the schedule on Monday, March 14th. That is the first day of spring break. That is always our deadline. So we have a lot of work to do in between the 1st and the 14th before we're ready to release the schedule. Honestly, 2 weeks is never enough, but I always say we put the schedule out, and it's always the minute we put it out, it's not right anymore. Basically, something needs to change. So this is your deadline. These are your dates that you need to hit. And that's pretty much all I have for now. We can talk about the walk-ins again, January 10th through the 19th, Math B10, but you need to be scheduling those walk-in appointments with us, please. Again, we're not going to just come to campus and sit in the room. So we can do them virtually, or we can do scheduled. I'm going to stop sharing at this time, and we can take some questions here. Oh.
Hey, Jill, I just have a comment.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if anybody needs help between now and when you start your next build, please contact Betty or I. We will gladly help you. I'm not in the office, but I can sure help you on Teams. Betty, I know, is in the office. I don't know what her schedule would be, but yes, please reach out to us if you have any questions from this point on. Thank you.
Perfect, thanks. I see Lisa Hilliard has her hand up. Lisa, what is your question, dear?
Okay, so Jill, I have two for you.
Sure.
First, I noted in the docs you sent, or that you just went through as well, that the large LEC is now back to 60 plus.
Yes.
It was 50. So
yes.
Has that changed?
Yes. Yes, I stated that as we were working back to our regular schedule, we did have it to 50 for fall because we needed to hold back some of those kind of in between rooms. We now are giving them back, and we're going back to normal, and we're doing 60 plus size. However, I will state this. You need to think about it. If you have a 55 size section, and especially if they're needing active learn, you might want to consider throwing it in the large bucket. Just because if there's particular about a need, a time or day, you might want to consider throwing it in. But yes, we are back to that 60 plus.
Okay, I kind of heard that, but I wasn't sure I was catching everything, so I wanted to make sure.
Absolutely.
Secondly, I just wanted to ask you about, so you sent an email last night, I think, that some of the stuff didn't port forward from fall with respect to, I think it was preferences and other things.
Yes.
So all of that has to be re-entered. So if we said things in the schedule notes like can't conflict with XYZ PDQ, all of that has to go forward into or be added?
Probably not a note. The note should have remained in place. But let me also say, Lisa, that some of those notes that can't conflict with, if it has been a trend, meaning if that has been the case for many years, Unitime does know about trends, and they do know that the students have to take them in the same semester or whatnot. So you have to kind of, I mean, that's not totally necessary. Now, if it is a new course, a new major, something of that, then yes, we need those notes in there to make sure that we're looking at that. So those notes should have stayed with, I'm talking about the preferences that I showed just a little bit ago, where it's more about they have to have an active learning room, or they have to have round tables or something like that. I'm just saying check them. I would double check them.
Okay, just wanted to make sure.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. I see Stephen from Pharmacy has his hand up. Go ahead with your question.
Yeah, just a quick question. Is really about the large active learning spaces. Is priority given to faculty who might have gone through impact training for that, or is it?
No, sir. We don't even know about who goes through impact training. That's a big, thank you for bringing that up. That is a big misconception. There is no priority given to anyone. We don't even know who has gone through the training. So there is no priority given for that.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
I can share that with my faculty.
Okay, thanks. Okay, I see a question from Susan Kaufman, nursing.
Sorry, Mama, I couldn't find my microphone.
You're good.
I put this in the chat notes, but you mentioned when we do the large active, for requesting a time and location, all that kind of stuff, that we need to make sure we mark required. Mine don't say required. Mine usually only say strongly preferred.
If you only have strongly preferred, that means it's not in your departmental bucket.
Okay. I didn't
That
know
would mean
what
you need to switch
difference.
your manager, or it's a room you don't have control over, essentially. Okay.
Okay. I was wondering if that was the reason.
Yes.
So, okay.
Perfect. Phil from CNIT, go ahead.
I have a logistical question. When assigning instructors, has the other student system access been fixed to where it works properly in Brightspace? Because it was not working.
Can you tell me how it was not working? They were not getting access in
Brightspace. Select
Brightspace?
that, and they would not get access in Brightspace. So where this comes into my world, at least, is in labs.
Sure.
So I want that instructor to have access to the lab Brightspace. So as a workaround, we list them as an instructor, but then we have to go and strike them off of the student evaluation piece,
Sure.
and they still show up in the dynamic schedule. Clearly, we can click the button and not check for conflicts. But I just wondering if that had been fixed yet.
Okay, I'll have to check with the Brightspace team. Is your other workaround, Phil, could be that you go directly into Brightspace and add them as a TA directly into Brightspace and not use Banner at all?
Right, I can do that, but then I have to put someone in Unitime,
sure,
so that they can have control, are an instructor in Brightspace, to add someone to it.
Oh,
so,
yeah, you do. So who's the warm body in front of the room for those sections? I mean, that should be who's added in Unitime.
Correct. Well, that's usually a TA, but we don't necessarily know who those are at this point in the semester.
Sure.
So the only other workaround would be to add myself and then go in and log in and change them and go back in and remove me. Well, that's ugly.
Yes, it is. Okay, I will follow up with someone from Brightspace. I mean, that's kind of necessary. I don't know why that disconnection happened, because it used to work okay over in with Blackboard.
It worked perfect in Blackboard. It's not worked in Brightspace.
Okay, I will follow up with you, Phil. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, let me scroll here to see if I see anybody else. Betty or Robin, did you see any other questions in the chat?
I think Michelle had a question earlier.
Michelle, okay, let me look here. Michelle, oh yeah, Michelle, go ahead with your question.
Hi, you may have mentioned this and I just missed it, but when you were talking about FMS, you were telling us that we need to check FMS for proper room quantities isn't the right word, but anyway.
Capacities.
Is somebody making sure that Unitime is matching FMS, or do we still need to check?
No, you don't necessarily need to check unless you see a discrepancy, or maybe you're in Unitime and you're like, oh, that lab never got raised back up from COVID capacity. You could go and check then. I'm not asking you to do verification. That actually already happens from physical facilities. They actually just did that this past go around because of the COVID capacity issue. So I think we're setting good. I think that Unitime is pretty much accurate. But there's always cases where things change and we're not notified about them, you know what I mean, and things like that. So we're talking more on a case-by-case basis, not a global thing here. Thank you, Michelle. Nina, go ahead with your question.
So back to this point, I just today had Robin actually convert a research lab into a teaching lab. So do I need to go in and actually look and see what physical facility says is the capacity of that lab?
You could have, and then you could have told that to Robin, but she probably went out to the inventory system and she's shaking her head and she got the official capacity from the inventory system. So there was probably no issue. Probably the capacity you gave her is matched FMS, and that's what she went with.
Okay, thank you.
And she's shaking her head, yes. So that actually worked beautifully. That's exactly how it was supposed to work. Thank you, Nina. Emily, go ahead with your question.
Hi, Jill. I think that the questions that I have may not pertain to everybody else, so I was hoping to get some of your time after this meeting, if that's possible.
Yes.
I need a run through of one of our biggest challenges has been that our projections in some cases have been wildly inaccurate. And I mean, like projecting 15 and we end up with 45 students. And of course, for lab sections and so on, that is very significant.
Yeah,
so
that's a problem.
And it could be that I'm somehow missing something or misreading something. So I'd like some help understanding to make sure I'm reading it correctly. And if it's something we're doing on our end, we need to fix it big time because it's caused a huge train wreck for this semester.
Sure.
And then also with our multiple plans of study, for instance, for AET, we're currently working off of 3 plans of study that are active, nightmare scenario. So when the solver runs, I'm not quite understanding which plan of study that's taking into account or if that's even how that works. So I think I just need some understanding on those things.
We can schedule some time after the meeting, Emily. No problem. Just email me, okay?
Okay, great. Thanks.
Okay, let me go back to the chat and see if we are. Oh, Mary was having a hard time hearing me. Hopefully that ended up working out because I feel like I am anything but quiet. Oh, I don't know. I'm trying to remove that waiting window. I'm not sure what that is. I'm so sorry, Zach. Okay, we already asked that. Okay, I think we answered the question. Any questions from their chat? Is there anyone else with another question for fall 22? It doesn't even have to be about the schedule build. Do you have any other questions that you're dying to ask? Okay.
Jill,
go ahead.
real quick.
Yeah.
This is Susan. So have all rooms, I know you said that we're back up to they're changing numbers, limits in the rooms. Has all room limits gone back to 100%?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
So what we're seeing is actually how many seats are in there and all of that.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. All good there.
I have a question for you, Jill.
Sure.
I have a faculty member who approached me just yesterday talking about fall for a large lecture who says, I would really love to do that as 100 minutes once a week.
Okay.
Instead of 50 minutes twice a week. I know we're really constrained on rooms. Is that something that I could put in?
What size are we talking about?
150.
I mean, it's doable. Would he do it Friday?
Well, I can certainly say this is your option. If you want that, you can get it Friday.
And honestly, I mean, and that is true. Or a 7:30 for 1x100. I'm not sure, but is that an option? It is. Does it probably make it a little bit more difficult to schedule? It does. And it could also impact students. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like getting the schedule they might need. We'd have to.
I absolutely understand, which is why I asked the question.
Yeah. I mean, is it possible? Yes. Is it ideal? Not sure at this point. But what you could do, Phil, too, is you could put both options in there at that section and then let Unitime kind of see where it can get it slotted in.
If I put both of those in, is there any way to say one is preferred or is it just potluck?
Unfortunately not. But, when I start running the timetables, I can always, shoot you a message letting you know kind of like this is where it's ending up. At this, it seems like it's liking the 2x50 more and it's putting it at this time at this location. Right. You think that's okay? Or do you want me to try to force it into the other? I mean, we can kind of communicate about that, but there's no way to give priority to one. It simply just pulls it up and put what works best for everyone's schedule.
Right. Well, this is a brand new, newly minted PhD instructor. So I'm not sure that he really knows exactly what he's asking.
Okay.
And so I'm more than happy to tell him no, but I just wanted to make sure what my rules were before I did so. I mean, I'm not completely convinced on the pedagogical.
Sure, and that might be something that you have to decide for yourself. You know what I mean? You know your faculty, you know your courses. Is it going to be best for you all and your students? You know what I mean? That's not necessarily something I know.
No, I'm square with that. I just didn't know if that was even in the realm of possibility given
it is. It is a possibility. He could technically do that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anything else? It's going to be tight, definitely for fall 22, especially seeing over 50,000 students. But we're going to make it do. We're going to do it just like we always do. Okay, if there's nothing else, I want to again thank you for your time, always your dedication to creating the schedule. This is no small feat that we all have to do. It takes a lot of time and patience for all of us, but it's certainly vital to our students, our faculty, staff, everybody. We have to come together and all create and do what's best for everybody. So I want to thank you all for the time and attention that you give to this task that sometimes seems daunting. So again, the due date, I got to look myself. Oh no, when was it? January, was it 17 or 19? 19th, January 19th, 5 p.m. That's when those large all-purpose sections are due, no later, earlier if possible, so we can start working on them. And starting the 10th, we can do in-person help sessions, but you have to schedule with us. So contact Betty or Robin or myself. Again, virtual is always an option as well. If you don't feel comfortable, you don't want to come to campus, or you're not working from campus, you can always do a virtual as well. Okay. We're going to wrap it up. Emily, go ahead and email me so we can set up a time. And then I hope you all have a wonderful start to another semester. I wish you all the best. Thank you. Take care.